There's a sort of MAGA civil war over issues like high skilled immigration and antitrust. Any intuitions about how that civil war plays out?
I think the MAGA movement is held together by Trump, and as he over time becomes a lame duck, it will more and more splinter. Decisions and outcomes will be more and more random. I think in the first year, there's a good chance for many good things to happen. In fact,
Hmm.
I'm hoping they do. I'm not convinced they will. The way you really initiate social change is to have a fair number of cadres of people working on something for long periods of time. They're in government, they infiltrate institutions, and something sticks over time. Democratic Party has done that wonderfully. The Republican Party far less well. Libertarians almost not at all. You could say they're too free spirited to want to take a lot of those jobs. Maybe it's a virtue of sorts, but collectively is bad for their point of view. I think you're right about Trump being a child of the 80s. Keep in mind, US manufacturing jobs, not output, but jobs, peak around 1977. So the 80s, early 80s is the time where you really start to feel that decline. And people then are very upset about trade. And Trump was too at
Hmm.
that time. I've seen tapes of earlier Trump talking to Oprah Winfrey about this in the 80s.
Yeah, he's
And
talking
he
about
just
Japan in
hasn't
that
grown out
case
of
instead
that.
of China. Yeah, but
Now
back
we've
then it
had
was
decades
Japan.
since
Yeah.
then, yeah, where manufacturing jobs fall to 7 or 8% of the workforce, and we're at full employment now, and it's fine, in fact. And those jobs pay below average wages when you look at them. They're not a thing to be envied, and a lot of them can be dangerous or unpleasant.
Hmm.
But Trump somehow still has this bug in his mind, and at his age, I don't think he's going to drop it. You're hoping some measure of corruption saves the day. That basically to kind of sell exemptions from tariffs and trade restrictions will win out. And I guess
It's
that's what the stock
possible.
market thinks. I
It's
suppose
very
it's my
possible.
prediction as well. But it's an ugly process, right? It's anti rule of law. The next time around, it may not go so well, and so on. So it's not a great place to be.
Hmm. You wrote back in July that immigration at the border has in fact spun out of control, and that has been a key Trump issue from the beginning of his campaign. And I write this as a person who is very pro immigration. You can imagine how the immigration skeptics feel. So I read this and it was very striking to me because I feel this exact same way too. I value things being orderly and democratic. And I think there's a lot of value and intellectually, I very much feel this way in voters getting what they consented to and what they voted for. And what's been happening at the southern border does not strike me as that at all. Which leads me to feel as though they'll feel as though sort of rule of law is being eroded the more this continues. Yet at the same time, the idea of deportation squads running around and attempting to round up illegal immigrants makes my libertarian heart very queasy, and I think will have all kinds of ramifications all across the economy. We're about a week and a half out from Trump taking office. What are your predictions for what immigration policy might look like in the coming months? And what should it look like? How do we reconcile these two things?
Trump has to do something on the issue to claim victory. The federal workforce in charge of both stopping and getting rid of immigrants is extremely low productivity. I've heard this from a number of people on the inside. So whatever policy is to get something done is going to be very, very hard. It's not that well known that, per year, Obama deported more people than Trump did. And the Obama administration focused on people already in the criminal justice system. You've already got them. It's a very popular thing to do. You're not taking away someone's employee or maid or whatever.
Which is
And
also what JD Vance has touted as the approach, right? Like Trump talks, has all of the big bluster, and then JD Vance has been sort of operating on the podcast circuit, running around doing cleanup and basically saying, well, actually, no, here's the order in which we will do the deportations.
so
It's
we'll
hard to
return to
tell
the
what the world's
Obama
doing.
years.
Yeah,
And
basically.
it's not a perfect outcome. It's an okay enough outcome. I
Mm.
do think we should orient immigration as much as possible toward legal and increase legal immigration. But people are so upset about illegal, you're not going to win that debate at this point. And there is the pushback, and it's going to manifest itself in some way. That's probably the best way for it to happen.
Hmm.
Were you surprised to see the discourse shift to debating high skilled immigration? Because so much of the debate in the past has been about, the low skilled immigration coming over the southern border. And now I mean, this is why there's now a fracture between it growing in MAGA, because the difference this time around was so much of Silicon Valley was openly backing Trump in a way they weren't last time. But there's now a pushback against the H-1B visas that are pretty important for their labor market. What did you make of that exploding into the debate over Christmas?
I'm not surprised at all. In fact, I've been predicting this for some while,
Hmm.
that once you get people riled up with nationalistic feelings, it's hard to control those feelings, and they spread to being anti-foreigner sentiment of many kinds. This has happened to some extent in Australia as well. Uh, so the notion of, well, we're pro high-skilled immigration against low-skilled, I don't think that's such a stable ideological equilibrium. I prefer a world where people want more legal immigration of both kinds. I know that's not what we're about to get, but there are these fights going on, and the first round, the pro-immigration people actually won it. I wouldn't say I'm hopeful, but it would have been worse if they had lost it, right?
Yeah, that's true. In that same piece that Liz was referencing about the vibe shift towards kind of normalizing MAGA, you noted that MAGA is just better at tapping into what you call negative contagion than its progressive opposition has been. Trump's famous American Carnage speech comes to mind as an example for me. But this time it does feel a little different, mostly because of that Silicon Valley techno-optimism that's been infused. Um, is that a possible vibe shift for the better? Like, are we going like, is this the sort of shift from malaise into hopefulness that Americans have been waiting for?
I hope so, but I wouldn't predict it. My fear is that after year one, the best Silicon Valley people will be some mix of fed up, burnt out, kicked out, have better things to do, and will move on. And then it will be in the hands of the others. But on the energy front, AI front, like, let's try to get done what we can while we can, because there is some momentum in those directions. But it's hard for me to see that as the ruling principle for another 4 years of Trump.
Hey, that was a clip from Just Asking Questions. You can watch another one here or the full episode here. And please subscribe to our brand new channel to get us started off right and be notified when new episodes or clips go up. Thanks for watching.